All right, click the links to join the channel here over at Subscribestar. So Peter and Wendy, it is so bad. And the Lost Boys. Oh, why are there only boys? Because girls are too clever to fall out of their prams. So you're saying that these girls are stupid? Yeah, these are the stupid lost girls. These are the lost Zur otherkin of furry, non-binary, poxwox, BLT. It's absolute woke cancer. Yes, these Disney parasites to just write something new if they want to push, this kind of globalist propaganda, but they can't. They really can't. They're just incapable of making Marxist propaganda that's palatable to anyone who's not a brainwashed teenager. So to name one positive thing about the movie, okay, fair enough. There's a scene where Peter asks Hook to think of one happy thought, and he draws a blank. That worked. Other than that, I wanted the new replacement characters to all get cannibalized or removed by the crocodile. And there's one thing on Twitter where these left-wing useful idiot kids are scared to criticize a Disney movie like this, which is weird because the left used to crap all over these billion-dollar corporate parasites. But then slowly, the narrative changed because the corporations started to push this globalist anti-white propaganda. So to criticize them and the media became a right-wing dog whistle. Sounds remarkably based and Chad-pilled. It took 10 to 15 years for the left wing to get completely subverted, but they definitely are. Here's the thing about the bell curve distribution of movies. Most things that people put out are going, this is kind of like a rule of the rule of orders of magnitude. Most things that people put out do not connect with people. There's going to be more bad stuff or mediocre stuff. So I think, obviously movies are completely subjective, but I think if you're going to put some objective statistical analysis over on this, you're going to find that there is more legitimate low scores for anything, music, movies, anything you put out there is going to get the bell curve, I think, is going to be biased towards low scoring stuff, where like a high score like this, 10 out of 10, or I can say like, well, the 10 out of 10 is not deserved, but statistically the 1 out of 10 is deserved. And that's not a completely subjective analysis because that is how movies work. There are going to be more bad things out there that don't find an audience than there are truly stellar things. Because a 10 out of 10, you're saying that this is up there with the best movies ever created. And you look at the competition, you're like, that just doesn't make sense. You'd have to look at the people making these scores. And to justify a 1 out of 10, it's like, I just didn't like it. I didn't like the race swapping. I didn't like it was transformative and not curative. It's like, okay, well, those are reasons that you liked it. To give it a 1 out of 10, those are valid reasons. To go 10 out of 10, so you're comparing this to like Casablanca and Citizen Kane or on the other end, like A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back, or like movies that more people have looked at and said, yeah, these are really solid movies. Even Raiders of the Lost Ark was a very good movie for what it was. You're saying this movie's up there with that? It's like, no, they're not saying that. I mean, that's why that middle score, the 8s and 9s, are missing, because the kids didn't want to give it an 8 or 9. They wanted to give it a 10 out of 10 to balance out the bad ratings. It's just like, that's not organic. Where the 1s and 2s probably are more organic. And I know I'm just saying that because it's like, it's a right-wing perspective, but you can think about it for yourself, and I'm sure you'll find that I'm right. So in this movie, they take every opportunity to portray negative things are more likely to be done by the English people, but the positive stuff is going to be done by the non-English people, because Disney is sending a message. They are cultural Bolshevik propagandists. There's no way to look at Disney now and think there's ever any coming back from this. They've had too many movies over the past few years that are in this direction. They're not going to turn this around. This is the new direction of Disney. You look at a movie like this and you think, like, can't the European people have anything for themselves? No, that's the point of globalism, is to slowly decay and destroy them, to flow those hydrothermally altered silicon-rich waters through wood. Well, over the years, it subs out the carbon for silicon, and it's changed completely. It's something, it was something, and now it's not that thing, and nobody notices. It just turns to stone. No, you don't understand. Actually, all these English stories were made by non-English people. They were always intended as globalist propaganda. Non-European stories must be respected, but European ones are better if they replace the Europeans from the stories that they created. Why exactly would that be better? I actually prefer to see the English people in an English story. We're not globalists, we're tribal, and I think it's better if you just get more comfortable using some of these terms and being honest about how you feel about these kind of things. Globalists destroy everything they touch, and I only make such a rash, hyperbolic statement because if you look around, you can see evidence for it. As they did with this very movie. It's absolutely effing cancer. The best part of this movie is when Peter Pan gets cut by a hook and falls to his deletion while the brown fairy flies after him. I want them both to be backspaced. They don't belong in the story. This isn't a story, it's just propaganda. It's like reading a comic as a kid, but it actually turns out to be a public safety comic about not getting some yellow cake and building a little 238 solar energy in your garage. Inshallah. I'm only kidding. All the non-European characters in this movie to be eaten by the crocodile and then replaced with proper English characters as it was intended. It's odd that the cultural bullshies are fine stealing European stories, but no other stories must be touched. It's as if this is all just a way to degrade and dehumanize people who look like you. It's as if there is actually something else going on right under the surface. As if they want you to accept you being removed from the stories that your people created, because actually Asians are better at telling European stories than the very people who created those European stories. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have to. If you object, then you're Istophobic. Because that's where we are now, where, it took almost 100 years to brainwash the cattle into accepting these Bolshevik control terms, but they have. And I mean, you can start rejecting them if you want to, but you have to start. You have to start swinging this pendulum back. If you're as tribal as they are, it's fine for them. They're the problem, not us. We're awesome. It doesn't make sense for them to be tribal, but then when we start to express some of those same tribal and group preferences, suddenly they have a panic attack. None of this is making sense. But the thing is, like, we've allowed them to control the lexicon, but two, the platform, because there is no open marketplace of ideas anymore. There's just these tightly controlled platforms. And, it's like the left on one side, and then there's the con ops on the other side, con ops right wing on the other side. It's like you have to break out of those platforms or use enough dog whistles to try to get your message across in the mainstream. So I don't want to see an Indian Peter Pan any more than an Indian would want to see an Englishman to race swap one of their characters. Why exactly would I or would they? I don't care about their stories as much as I care about our tribal stories. One of the things that Twitter idiots keep repeating is that the characters being European is not important to the story, while with their stories, their characters being non-European is important. Except that's just anti-white racist hatred. We feel we are important to our stories. If we weren't so amazing, such godlike creatures, then you wouldn't need to steal the stories. There is something magical and special about the European people and their ability to tell stories. Hollywood can make Rings, or Amazon can make Rings of Power, an Englishman's story, but all they can do is rewrite it with non-English people. They can't write an original Lord of the Rings because they lack that special spark that makes an English writer better than all others. And it's not me saying that, it's them saying that, and the evidence is that they're taking these stories and appropriating them to their own use. They're not writing their own stories or telling original non-English stories. They just take the European stories and rewrite them. That's like Hollywood turned into a cargo cult or something. Don't you think all these writers, these rewrites are getting a little bit weird? Like cultural Bolshevism has painted themselves into this woke corner where they can't actually write something new because they just can't create something that can connect with an audience. And all this sounds pretty obvious, but nobody wants to say these very obvious things. You saw how the Egyptians and Greeks responded when Will Smith's occasional wife, maybe community wife is more accurate, replaced them with sub-Saharan Africans and the Greeks and the Egyptians in that case. Nobody cares about a mixed group of people because people are tribal. We know this is all just globalist propaganda from the Epstein Island visitors who live in gated communities. Is it asking too much to see English people in something? Apparently that is hate speech from these lizard people. The tribal elements are purposely set up like this. The found family globalist lost boys, I guess, and girls, stupid girls, are a mixed group who are doing horrific violence to the mostly English pirates. It is by design. The bad guys are all English. That is who they want you to hate. This movie doesn't even work as a kid's movie. Just go back and watch the 1953 version. Gosh, the coolest characters in this movie are not English, and the evil ones are English. So Peter is Indian, but Hook isn't. Why not reverse that? Why not make all the characters Indian at this point, or African? At the end of the movie, the English family is looking at the Indian Peter and the Iranian Tinkerbell, and they're pretending to care, except the audience, it doesn't make sense. The audience doesn't care about the fake Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. They're in some flying ship, and we hope that the ship just, I don't know, gets shot down over Russia or something. You just can't care about a globalist found family because you're not a blood tribe. You're not connected in any way whatsoever. It's just a group of strangers who have interests adverse to each other. So the motivations for the story, they're not all one people. Why would you care? Oh, we don't. That's why the show is down to 17% for the audience score. We're left or right. It's like the right is saying it's woke. The left is just can't really say anything positive about it. Well, no, that's not true. On Twitter, there's the positive reviews are coming from guys with Indian names. I guess because Peter Pan is Indian, I think, so that they're giving it very high reviews on Twitter. It's like, but you're only giving it a high review because your name is Indian and he's an Indian actor. It's like, you think we don't see the bias here? Anyway, it's horrible, and it's not just me saying that. It's Disney saying that. Now, here's the thing you got to think about. Disney's making a string of these horrible movies that are, they're not chasing a dollar, they're pushing bullshit propaganda. That's kind of weird because Disney's a publicly traded company. It's like, I'm not understanding their motives. Yeah, you don't understand the motives yet because in the back of your mind you're thinking, well, if I was in business selling widgets, I just want to sell what people want and get money and get a nice motorcycle for the back hills, and that's it. It's like that's your motivation. They're not motivated by money. And when you say this, the left and right normies, they hear this, they don't understand this. And I've heard left-wing people say this also. They think corporations are just chasing money. No, you have an old construct in your mind of what you think corporations are. You have to examine the actual evidence on the ground. And if you have preconceived notions that are not in accord with the evidence before you, what did Arthur Conan Doyle was talking about? You have to go with the facts before you, even if it counters your earlier presupposition. You have to go with the data before you go. This doesn't make sense. Their motive does not appear to be financial. It appears that they're pushing ideological things that are not finding an audience and not making money, and they're repeating it. Their motives are not pecuniary. They're something else. How many times do I have to say they're Bolsheviks, they're globalists, they're Marxists, they're pushing this. They don't care about the money, which to most normal people who are just looking for, rent or mortgage or to be able to gas up their motorcycle on the weekends, they don't understand that because most of us are not, we're not motivated, and we also don't have this kind of financial safety net that they have. They really, like somebody who's, the people who are Disney and Warner Brothers and all these other networks, Amazons and Netflixes, the people at the top are they're not worried about their gassing up their motorcycle or paying the mortgage. They're way financially protected. They will burn the companies to the ground. You're like, wait, what about the other 99% of the people of the companies? They don't care. They're globalists pushing Bolshevik propaganda. They will burn the companies to the effing ground and then get more money from Larry Fink at BlackRock and make something else. That's the way of the world. That's what's really going on. And I only say this because you can look at the movies in the past 10 years. Tell me I'm off base with this. You know I'm not. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Check out the subscribe star. I'll see you guys on there. Oh, I got a mailbox if you want to drop me a comic book or send me something to look at. And I'll see you guys all next episode.